event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere.
Welcome back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. It has been a very busy day for the Trump administration when it comes to illegal immigration and border security. Just moments ago, we took you to Arizona live, where DHS Secretary Kristi Noem was speaking about border security, more specifically about continuing to build the border wall along that stretch. She also used the opportunity to praise many of the Border Patrol and immigration ICE agents who are working along that area. She, of course, said that they've been doing a very good job and pointed out some specific instances thereof. In the meantime, the Department of Homeland Security also cutting the number of federal agents deployed to Minneapolis by some 700. That's the word from Border Czar Tom Homan this morning, as he is now overseeing the illegal immigration operation in the Twin Cities. Homan also saying that while his focus remains on catching and deporting violent criminal illegal aliens, anyone in the country illegally is a target.
I keep hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. We're not surrendering the president's mission on a mass deportation operation. If you're in the country illegally, if we find you, we'll deport you. But this is about target enforcement operation, and that's what we're going to be doing.
While the Border Czar is working to shore up operations in Minneapolis, the vice president's focus today is on rare earth minerals.
So this morning, the Trump administration is proposing a concrete mechanism to return the global critical minerals market to a healthier, more competitive state. A preferential trade zone for critical minerals protected from external disruptions through enforceable price floors. We will establish reference prices for critical minerals at each stage of production, pricing that reflects real-world fair market value. And for members of the preferential zone, these reference prices will operate as a floor, maintained through adjustable tariffs to uphold pricing integrity.
And just into our newsroom moments ago, the man convicted of trying to assassinate President Trump while the commander-in-chief played golf in Florida will spend the rest of his life in prison. The 59-year-old would-be assassin was caught after a Secret Service agent noticed him lurking in some bushes along the golf course. He was found guilty on all charges against him back in September and unsuccessfully tried to stab himself after the verdict was returned. As for today's sentencing, prosecutors asked for life in prison without parole. The defense asked for a sentence of 27 years in prison, since the failed assassin is set to turn 60 years old this year. In addition to life in prison, the guy also was slapped with a consecutive 7-year sentence for one of his gun convictions. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says that no operations are planned for Super Bowl 60 in the San Francisco area this weekend. The National Football League's chief security officer says there will, however, be federal law enforcement at and around the big game.
Our Department of Homeland Security, who's been our partner for more than 20 years now, is made up of more than 20 different departments. We'll send a variety of different agencies. That does not include ICE. There is not ICE deployed with us at this Super Bowl, and I don't believe there has been in the last several. But most of the other departments, from the Coast Guard to, many other agencies, are here.
Sunday's game is designated a Tier 1 event, which is the second highest security assessment rating for a large-scale event. Concern was raised about the possibility of ICE operations when it was announced that reggaeton artist Bad Bunny would be performing the Super Bowl halftime show. The performance likely will be totally, if not partially, in Spanish. In the meantime, there's a billboard that's set up in San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf district that really is all the buzz this morning. There you see it. As you can see, it appears to support ICE, saying that Defensive Player of the Year is ICE. And in other headlines this morning, former President Bill Clinton and his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, are set to testify before Congress related to the body's ongoing investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. The former First Lady is scheduled to be deposed February 26th. Her husband will face the House Oversight Committee the very next day. The agreement for the former first couple to testify avoids a contempt of Congress vote, which was scheduled to happen today. You probably remember the House Oversight Committee voted to hold the duo in contempt after they failed to show up for their previously scheduled deposition last month. Now, the Clintons appear to be singing a new tune, though. That's a quick check of your headlines. I'm Terrence Bates.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. To the factories, from small towns to city streets. This is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
Live from the campus of Hillsdale College in beautiful Hillsdale, Michigan. This is not Steve, it's Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve here on the Steve Gruber Show for this Thursday, February 5th, 2026. Here are three big things you need to know. 1. California will be allowed to use its new Democrat-leaning congressional map after a Supreme Court ruling or lack of ruling yesterday. They're not taking the case. The map approved last November with the passing of Prop 50 there. Supreme Court denying a last-ditch effort from Republicans of the Trump administration to block those changes, which should pave the way for a massive Republican remap in Florida to counteract those changes. 2. The Washington Post conducting mass layoffs. The outlet making cuts to sports and books and international coverage, in addition to restructuring its Metro desk and podcasts and such. Widespread layoffs have been expected for several weeks. I'll have a little bit more to say about this in a few minutes. And number 3, the White House says President Trump has spoken with Today host Savannah Guthrie about her missing mother. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie first reported missing Sunday after she didn't show up to church that morning. FBI, others now involved in that investigation. That's where we start hour 1 of the Steve Gruber Show. Thanks so much for joining us. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve, be with you today, tomorrow, also Monday. Steve back on Tuesday morning, but always pleased, privileged to be here, guest hosting for Steve when he is unavailable. I'm Scott Bertram. I'm here at Hillsdale College, where I serve as the general manager of the award-winning student radio station, WRFH, also a lecturer in journalism here and director of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network. When I guest host, I speak for myself, not on behalf of the college. Speaking of myself, you can find me on X at Scott Bertram, SCOTBERTRAM, and also scottbertram.com, where I corral all my media doings. I host some podcasts for the college, host some external podcasts, do some writing occasionally. All my stuff can be found there. But pleased, proud to be guest hosting today as Steve is out. Matthew Traylor coming up this hour. Also, Brian Jodice from American Federation for Children. We talk about the possibility of school choice coming to maybe every state in the union. It's a nice dream to have. Start on the topic of immigration enforcement. We already had things to talk about because yesterday Tom Homan had a press conference early in the morning talking about what's happening in Minnesota. And then late last night, almost into the overnight hours, we get on professional congressional letterhead the official demands of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries for DHS funding, some of them fairly laughable. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's hear from Tom Homan first. Tom Homan yesterday saying they're drawing down about 700 troops or so from Minneapolis. Why? Well, because they're finally starting to get some cooperation, it appears. Tom Homan here, cut 3.
We currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers going into the community and arresting that public safety threat. This frees up more officers to arrest or remove criminal aliens. More officers taking custody of criminal aliens directly from the jails means less officers on the street doing criminal operations. This is smart law enforcement, not less law enforcement. It's safer for the community, safer for the officers.
Homan says his goal is, with the support of President Trump, to achieve a complete drawdown and end the surge as soon as possible. But that's going to depend on continued cooperation from state and local law enforcement officials and a decrease in the violence, the rhetoric, and the attacks. He said later on in that press conference, called on the governor, the mayor, to stop the rhetoric, to stop encouraging people to do things like roadblocks, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in today's program. Late last night, we have this list of demands from Chuck Schumer in the Senate, Hakeem Jeffries in the House, as funding for the Department of Homeland Security. Did you even know there was a 4-day government shutdown? This is how inconsequential it is to much of our lives. There was a 4-day shutdown until the president signed the new budget. Some of the stuff has not been negotiated yet, including 2026 funding for DHS. This is where Democrats think they're going to make their stand. They write a letter to Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune last night. Federal immigration agents cannot continue to cause chaos in our cities. Who's causing chaos in these cities? While using taxpayer money that should be used to make life more affordable for working families. This is the introduction. They have 10 points here. 10 points. 10 demands. 10 demands. Targeted enforcement. DHS officers cannot enter private property without a judicial warrant. Number 2, no masks. Very funny, right? You got to wear the masks. Everyone's got to wear masks. You don't want to wear a mask? You're a criminal. You want to get everyone sick? Got to wear a mask everywhere you go. Now, no masks. No masks anywhere. Prohibit ICE and immigration enforcement agents from wearing face coverings. Require ID. Require DHS officers to conduct immigration enforcement efforts to have ID. Verbalize their ID number and last name if asked. Protect sensitive locations. I enjoy this one. Prohibit funds from being used to conduct enforcement near sensitive locations, including medical facilities, schools, child care facilities, churches, polling places, courts. Why would Democrats be so concerned about enforcement against illegal immigrants at polling locations, at or near polling locations? Ponder that one for a moment. Stop racial profiling. Uphold use of force standards. Here's 7, something we can both get behind. Ensure state and local coordination and oversight. Great. This is what Tom Homan's talking about. State and local coordination oversight with ICE. Respect ICE detainers. This is great. Oh, no. Wait. No, that's not what they mean at all here. Preserve the ability of state and local jurisdictions to investigate and prosecute potential crimes and use of excessive force incidents. They don't mean that they should cooperate with ICE or cooperate with DHS, cooperate at all. They just want the ability to investigate and prosecute. 8, build safeguards into the system. 9, body cameras for all. And 10, no paramilitary police. regulate and standardize the type of uniforms and equipment DHS officers can carry, or DHS officers carry during enforcement operations. Furthermore, now this is outside the 10 demands, but furthermore, Schumer and Jeffries say there are steps the Trump administration can take right now to show good faith in this bargaining. One, fully ramping down the surge in Minnesota. So 700 troops out yesterday, Tom Homan being somewhat conciliatory, not enough. And they want Kristi Noem fired. Remove Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem from her position. Those are good faith steps the Trump administration can take. And then, of course, the 10 demands that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have. I don't think they're going to get very far in those negotiations with that list of demands. More on this throughout the program. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve. On this Thursday morning, it's the Steve Gruber Show.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere.
From Muskegon, Michigan. Why do you love RAV?
Because we've become family. All those RAV live chatters and me.
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that RAV News is the best news. #1 news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll set you free.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because they have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
It's the Steve Gruber Show. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve on this Thursday morning. Thanks so long for joining us. Thanks so much for joining us. Being alongside is what I mean to say. Talk with Matthew Traylor coming up in about 10 minutes or so, 12 minutes or so. He's Director of Programs for Christian Business Men's Connection. Brian Jodice later on in the hour from the American Federation for Children. News yesterday out of Washington, D.C. Look, I understand for normal people, it's not a big deal. You're looking to pay the rent, buy groceries, take the kids to sports. I understand. The Washington Post, with massive layoffs yesterday across the newspaper, expected for some time. There was news that leaked a while ago that they were not sending reporters out to cover the Winter Olympics. They reversed that decision. But yesterday, big news as they shut down the sports department, essentially, the books department. They cut down on international and foreign coverage. And a lot of journalists are really upset. And I will say this is something I feel I can speak about, considering my position as a lecturer in journalism. This Washington Post story, you start this essentially in the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, where the Post decides to go seriously anti-Trump in its news coverage. This is, remember, democracy dies in darkness. They put on the top of the masthead, democracy dies in darkness. And it was an extremely anti-Trump news coverage, an extremely anti-Trump op-ed section. All the opinion writers, the position of the paper, all very anti-Trump. This led to an explosion in support from those anti-Trump people across the country. They loved it. They couldn't get enough. They subscribed. They shared stories. The Post was hiring a lot of people at that time. The problem is that was essentially the only strategy they had, apparently. As Donald Trump leaves office, Joe Biden enters office, and the paper is somewhat lost. Jeff Bezos from Amazon buys the paper. And here's where it gets interesting, because Jeff Bezos didn't get to be a billionaire by losing money hand over fist. And the Washington Post began losing money hand over fist. And he decided to change the perspective of the paper, the perspective of the op-ed section of the paper, from being reflexively leftist and anti-Trump to being an op-ed section, an editorial page that is pro-First Amendment, that is pro-America, and that is pro-free markets. Those are the values that the Washington Post op-ed page, the editorial side of the paper, now embrace. In fact, we had a conference here on Hillsdale's campus this week, and one of our soon-to-be graduates of our journalism program, a minor, not a major, we can talk about that a different time, here at Hillsdale, is going to work for the Washington Post on the editorial side, the op-ed pages. And we were at a forum with some people attending the conference, and someone said, why are you going to that leftist paper, essentially? Why would you go work for the Washington Post? There's so many different options out there. Why the WAPO? And the answer is because, A, you have an opportunity to rebuild and recalibrate the paper from the inside, but also there is this commitment on the op-ed pages, the editorial side, to be pro-America, pro-First Amendment, pro-free markets, the sort of things that we want to embrace, especially in this 250th anniversary. And so he's explaining this. There are two really interesting developments right now in the world of media. One is what's happening with the Washington Post. And yes, separate from the editorial pages are these changes yesterday. Shuttering a sports section when sports is something that generally draws people to a paper, a little confusing, I think. Shuttering books, foreign policy. Look, the Washington Post was so essentially pro-Hamas in their coverage of what was happening in the Middle East, that losing that coverage is actually an advantage for readers. You were less informed after reading the Washington Post coverage of those affairs. Now, perhaps it will be slightly better. But one of the two interesting things, Washington Post, and then of course CBS and Barry Weiss and what she's trying to do to CBS. And no matter what, if CBS is wildly successful, drawing tons of new viewers, if the Washington Post is wildly successful and turns profitable, it won't be enough for those leftists in the journalism world to give them any credit whatsoever. They'll be toadies for Trump. They'll be selling out to the right. They won't be real journalists. But Barry Weiss at CBS and the Washington Post editorial page, they're at least trying something new. They're saying, well, maybe appealing to only 35% of the country. And really, I think it's less than that because those outlets are so hard left. Even some of those moderate Democrats probably had no interest in watching or reading. Maybe I appeal to 20% of the population. Maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe that's not the best business model. Can we change that? Can we get more moderate? Can we get more down the middle? Can we get more objective in our coverage? And that's what CBS is trying. And that's what I think the Washington Post is also trying. It doesn't mean we have to love it in every way, shape, or form. I think it should mean at least we're not reflexively opposed to the outlets when they're trying to do better, when they're making changes, when they're hiring people who can change the tone of coverage. Here in the Detroit area, Michigan, where we're headquartered, I'm disappointed. I'm still a newspaper guy. I read the Sunday paper each and every Sunday, cover to cover. I read 2 newspapers every morning, cover to cover in the digital side, the PDF version. And I thought we'd finally have a choice on Sundays. The Detroit Free Press is the leftist newspaper in Detroit. The Detroit News is the more conservative newspaper. For years, they've had an agreement where they share production. And the Sunday paper is all free press, except for one page of the Detroit News op-ed section, the editorial page. And the News and the Free Press split toward the end of last year. And the News said, we're gonna print a new Sunday paper. I was so excited that I could support them on Sundays and not give money to the Free Press. Then USA Today, which owns the Free Press, just bought the News a couple of weeks ago. And now that whole plan is sort of, up in the air. Anyway, the point is, the Post is trying something on the op-ed page, on the editorial page. CBS is trying something to appeal to a greater swath of the country. And at the very least, maybe not reflexively angry toward their coverage or anti their coverage. Let's see what happens in both cases here. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve. This is the Steve Gruber Show.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
It's the Steve Gruber Show. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve on this Thursday morning. Thanks for being here. One more point I want to make about the Washington Post in a moment. But first, this portion of the Steve Gruber Show brought to you by Longevity. A lot of people today are eating less. That makes nutrition more important than ever. Longevity Wellness helps fill the gaps with a simple daily shake packed with protein, collagen, omega-3s, probiotics, and colostrum. It's a supplemental nutrition designed to support muscle, gut health, brain function, and immunity. You can learn more at longevitywellness.co. Use promo code Gruber to save. That's longevitywellness.co, promo code Gruber to save with Longevity Wellness. All right, one more point on this Washington Post story. Again, big layoffs yesterday over at the paper. People are freaking out on the left. People in Washington saying, where am I going to find my sports coverage now? There's a lot of places you can find sports coverage. Part of how they found themselves in this situation is when Jeff Bezos and the editorial page said, hey, we're going to moderate. And again, it's important to say, they didn't say, we're going full tilt boogie conservative. We're going to be far right. They said, we're going to slightly moderate our point of view. The leftists went crazy. And you might remember this if you're active on social media, on X. When the Post said, hey, our op-ed page is going to be more moderate, they said we're going to be pro-America, and it freaked out the left. And they said, we're going to cancel our subscriptions. We're going to stop giving you money. because we don't like the changes that you're making to the op-ed page, the editorial page of the Washington Post. So tons of journalists and tons of activists and tons of leftists cancel their subscriptions, or at least many of them cancel subscriptions to the Washington Post. And that was their base, remember. Those are the people supporting the paper. So if all those people cancel their subscription, stop sending the Post money, that leads to, let's see, basic economics. Income is down. Profits are, well, no profits at all. Losses are greater. That results in more jobs being cut. And now they're upset all over again. What did they think was going to happen when they stopped their subscriptions and stopped sending the Post their money? Wasn't the entire point of this operation to protest and to say, we don't like what you're doing with the paper and we're not going to support you and you should change? Well, they are changing. Not in the way perhaps some people wanted, but they're changing once again. All right. Coming up after the break, we'll talk about jobs. In a moment, Scott Bertram in for Steve.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
I'm Andy M., and I love Real America's Voice, where my voice counts and your voice.
It's the Steve Gruber Show. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve. Good morning to you this Thursday, February 5th across the country. Joined now by Matthew Traylor, Director of Programs for Christian Business Men's Connection. You can find more at cbmc.com, at CMBCUSA. Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Scott. It's good to be with you.
Good to be with you. First time I know that we have talked. Tell people a little bit about Christian Business Men's Connection and what it's all about.
Yeah, CBMC has been around since the days of the Depression. Men, businessmen particularly, saw the devastation caused by the Depression and saw their colleagues suffering, some committing suicide. And they wanted to step up and do something about it. So they formed prayer groups and would go out on the corners of streets and share the word of God and begin sharing the hope of Jesus Christ in the business community. And since then, we've been around almost 100 years now, doing the same thing, offering hope and the love of Christ in the business community to men.
Saw some news this past week, I'm sure you did too, about Amazon cutting more jobs, 16,000 jobs. That's 30,000 jobs since October of 2025 that Amazon is shedding. It's a profitable business. It seems to be doing well. I see Amazon jets in the sky delivering packages all across the country, of course. So what's this about? Is this the first indication of artificial intelligence beginning to take a bite out of the workforce, especially at a big company like Amazon?
Well, AI, it's moving faster than any previous industrial shift. So it's creating a sense that the ground is shifting beneath our feet. And at CBMC, we want to teach men that true security, it's not found in a job title or a technical skill. Well, particularly in a technical skill that might be obsolete tomorrow, right? It's found in a personal relationship with God and having a community of men around you who have your back, especially when these shifts happen, when the unknown is unknown, especially when it comes to our career. Having guys around you that can help you through those difficult times, we say, is very important.
Yeah, a lot. There are people, there are men who are defined by their jobs. What level of success that you reach, what your next promotion might be, what your next raise might be, what your title is, what the business card looks like. All these things. If that's where your focus is, and that's how you define your success, there's going to be some problems. What does your organization, CBMC, do to maybe shift that focus away from just a job?
Right. There's a real danger of men viewing themselves as just mere units of production or finding their identity in a job title or a paycheck, especially when those things can be replaced by a machine. So if that is your identity, that's dangerous. And so when a man's identity is tied to those things, AI particularly becomes an existential threat. And at CBMC, we want to help men shift their perspective to see that they were made for more. They have a deeper and greater purpose. And when men realize that, those worries, that anxiety really does go away, especially, again, when you have a group of guys around you who are like-minded men who are helping you through those, especially when again, the ground shakes beneath us. And we want to help men understand that they have a greater purpose to lead with integrity. They have a greater identity, regardless of how the industry around them evolves.
Matthew Traylor with us, Director of Programs for Christian Business Men's Connection, cbmc.com, at CMBCUSA on X. These days, as you well know, we are a little more fractured in the way we connect with each other. People are working remotely. You're Zooming into meetings or using Microsoft Teams. You're not gathering around a water cooler. And even if you do, you're not watching the same TV shows. You're not seeing the same movies. How does that personal one-to-one connection benefit men? And how does CBMC help make those connections happen?
Well, one of the things that we know and we see is that isolation, it's the fuel for anxiety. And I think as we're seeing industries automate, the risk of men withdrawing into isolation, it increases significantly. When you can push away from society that's causing you great angst and find solace in an artificial world, that's dangerous. Isolation is probably one of the most dangerous things for men. At CBMC, we address this by bringing guys out of isolation and into community. We do this through peer advisory groups and life-on-life mentorship. It's important that guys have someone else they can rely on to talk about the difficult things in life, especially when it comes to our careers. It may not be something that's easy to discuss at home all the time because we see ourselves as the caretakers of our home and providers. And when that world shakes and becomes unstable, We need people around us. And so guys sharpening one another, we call it iron sharpening iron. We're able to build resilient leaders who don't react to the economic shifts around them.
Matthew, people who are interested in something like Christian Businessmen's Connection probably already have a home church, probably might already have a group of men at that church that men's group, they visit, they talk. What are the benefits of perhaps branching out and doing something with CBMC?
Yeah, we have many guys who are part of CBMC who, obviously they're going to church. They may be part of their men's group at church. But again, we've had guys tell us there are things that they can't really discuss, maybe their small group or their church Bible study, that they can really share in a men's career group or business group, businessman, working man's group, especially through our peer advisory groups. Because again, guys a lot of us, we tend to think that what we are struggling with alone, but we're not. Many guys are going through the same thing, feeling the same thing, but we don't always know it because we don't share it. But being able to be a part of a like-minded community where you can build trust with these guys and share, hey, I'm really struggling with worry and losing my job, or what do I do next now that I don't have a job? And you have guys being able to pour into you and give you biblical wisdom and real life wisdom is very, very powerful.
Matthew Traylor with us from Christian Businessmen's Connection. We got about 60 seconds here, Matthew. How does this work in practice? You go to the website, CBMC, are you looking for a local organization, trying to find one in the area? How does that work?
Yeah, CBMC is across the nation, and we're active in various communities. So if you go to our website, www.cbmc.com, you can take a look at our programs and tools that we offer. And if you want to see if there's an active area, if we have active teams in your area, you can click on the Get Started button and find out what's going on. We have various events that happen on a regular basis in various cities, and we'd love for anybody out there who maybe this strikes a chord with to get involved.
All right, Matthew Traylor is with Christian Businessmen's Connection. You can find more at cbmc.com. They're also on X at CBMCUSA. Matthew, thanks so much for joining us here this morning on The Steve Gruber Show.
Thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Talk next with Brian Jodice, National Press Secretary with American Federation for Children. School choice. There's, of course, a new provision in the Big Beautiful Bill, now the Big Beautiful Law, that can allow more choice in perhaps more states across the country. Is the movement growing? Can it come to every corner of the country? Those are questions we'll ask Brian here in just a moment. Don't forget, check out SteveGruber.com, at Steve Gruber Show on X for updated information. You can find me out there too at Scott Bertram, SCOTBERTRAM, or ScottBertram.com. More next. Scott Bertram in for Steve on The Steve Gruber Show.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
I'm Andy M., and I love Real America's Voice, where my voice counts and your voice.
It's the Steve Gruber Show. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve. Thanks for being alongside. Joining us now, Brian Jodis, who is National Press Secretary for the American Federation for Children. FederationForChildren.org is the website. Brian, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, Scott, good to be with you. Good morning to you.
Always a pleasure to talk about the concept of school choice and the wins that we're seeing across the country. We talk it off the air. I did Morning Drive for a number of years, and man, 15 years ago, talking a lot about school choice, it was such a flashing red light that this could be a winning issue and a real issue that drives voters to the conservatives and the Republican camp. And now we have a growing movement across the country. Give us a lay of the land. How many states across the country now have some form of school choice? And then we'll talk about the opportunity for even more to join in.
Well, you're right, Scott, and it's not that long ago, and it's been just an incredible journey to see the way in which school choice has been more embraced. This idea, right, that parents, families, regardless of their zip code, shouldn't be trapped in a school that doesn't meet their needs, and they should be freed up to be able to find that environment that will best meet the needs of their kids. And I was looking back, and it wasn't even that long ago where we had 100,000, 200,000 kids on a private school choice program across America. Today, as we sit in 2026, we believe we're going to be over 1.5 million kids on a private school choice programs, 32 states, plus the District of Columbia with a private school choice program, nearly 20 of those reaching universal eligibility. So we talk about this momentum, right? This incredible wave for school choice across America. We're on the heels of yet another National School Choice Week from a week ago. It really is all gas, no brakes on this educational freedom movement. And we've seen such incredible growth. Look, we're in the middle of sort of school choice enrollment right now across the country. Yes. Programs are renewing, applications are open. The nation's largest day one program opened yesterday in Texas. Over 30,000, probably by the time we reach this morning, I wouldn't be surprised if we're nearing 50,000 applicants on day one for that new Texas program. So it's a great time, man. We're excited about it.
I think parents understand the importance of this, and I always go back. You demand you demand maximum choice on your cell phone provider and which phone you want to pick. But when it comes to schools, for many years, parents said, "Well, that's our zip code. That's our neighborhood. That's where we're going to end up." I moved from Illinois to Michigan. Illinois is a very low choice state, and Michigan is not in the top half of the country, probably when it comes to choice, but it's a lot better than Michigan. When you move to a place where you have a little bit of freedom, and here you can choose the next door public school. You can choose charter schools, right? There's a lot of homeschool co-ops that are operating near me. All of a sudden, you can choose the very best education for your child. And in many of those situations, again, you're just moving those tax dollars along with them to choose the school you want. Even that small amount of choice, I think, makes such a significant difference in the way parents approach the idea of education for their children.
I think you're right, Scott. And you've just seen this ideological shift across the country. It's why more and more states have been empowered by unleashing educational freedom. My home state of North Carolina, we had about 25, 30,000 kids on a private school choice program, not but a few years ago. We're over 100,000 today because our legislature has rightfully so expanded that. And we've seen that play out in states across the country. Tennessee is looking to add more to their program. Again, that Texas program is going to be historic. You've got new programs onboarding in Idaho and other states. So it continues to grow because this idea really of putting these dollars in the kids' backpacks, letting it go with them to the school that best meets their needs. Look, for millions of kids across the country, that traditional public school in their community might be the best fit for them. And that's great. And I'm a product of both. Right? We grew up and went to small private Catholic school when we were kids, but then I went to a really big public high school in Northern Virginia. And for me at that time, that was a good fit. And for my family, that was a good fit. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it's about finding what ultimately is the best fit and letting that follow the child. And your point, great point on the phone, right? You think about, we've got a smartphone. I've got one that's not but a few inches away from me at this point. I've got hundreds of apps on there. Well, what does that signify? That's choice. And this generation of parent, especially this new generation of parent, well, they do have a lot of choice. They've got a lot of choice available to them. And so to assume that they wouldn't want that in education just doesn't match up.
Brian Jodas with us from the American Federation for Children. There is this wonderful new, thanks to Ted Cruz but others, federal scholarship tax credit inside the Big Beautiful Bill, which is now the Big Beautiful Law. And states can opt in, have to opt into the program. Are there any states that have opted into this program that didn't already have this base of choice inside their boundaries?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really is what we consider, it's probably at this point still the best kept secret of the One Big Beautiful Bill is this educational freedom tax credit. So K-12 scholarships that'll be unlocked through donor-driven support across the country, which really is incredible, right? You think about this, tapping into philanthropic support, and then those taxpayers, those donors are going to be able to get a tax credit up to $1,700 directly off their federal tax bill starting in 2027. So it really is a revolutionary way to unlock K-12 education funding in America. But 27 states have already opted in. Jared Polis, we'll give him a shout out today. Jared Polis, the lone Democrat currently, governor of a state, has chosen to opt in for the education freedom tax credit. And because he said, and he's 100% right about this, he basically said, I'd have to be crazy not to do this because I'd be sending those tax dollars out of our state. I'd be sending those education dollars out of our state. I mean, take your state for Michigan, for example. Michigan not currently opted in. We believe you can get there and should get there. But if you don't, you mean to tell me that Michigan taxpayers aren't going to go find a scholarship granting organization in, I don't know, Ohio, Indiana, neighboring states where they can then get that tax credit? Everybody's going to want the tax credit. Why would you not want to keep those dollars in your state? So we're very hopeful that all 50 states will opt into this. There's work to be done to get there. There are a few governors that have just flat out said no already. Wisconsin's one of those. Again, work to be done to maybe course correct that. But when you really think about this, right, if governors can put partisan politics aside and really think about how this works, the law clearly states these scholarships can be used in across makes and models. It talks about private school tuition, but it also talks about tutoring and other educational services. Well, that shows us that there's a path for public school students to benefit as well. And so you really would have to be crazy not to want to participate in this program. It's a no-brainer. Because you don't want your taxpayers sending those dollars into another state, right?
Yeah.
Now, we'd be glad to take them. In states that have SGOs, I'm sure we'd be glad to take them.
Talked to our local state senator here near Hillsdale and asked them the question. He said Governor Whitmer is not going to allow this. So we might need a change in Lansing before Michigan opts in. But that
there's always that opportunity, right? You know, elections have consequences. And so there's always opportunities to, and that's a great, look, if you've got gubernatorial elections, you should be asking those candidates, hey, where do you stand on this important issue?
We want Brian Jodas, American Federation for Children. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China.
It's the Steve Gruber Show. Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve as we near the end of Hour 1. Appreciate you being with us. Stick with us as Hour 2 rolls on. One other point from the conversation with Brian Jodas from American Federation for Children on School Choice. This tax credit scholarship program that states can opt into. Story from Illinois, again, where I was born and raised, in Michigan now. Illinois, as part of a budget compromise some years ago, started a tax credit scholarship program called Invest in Kids. And it allowed donors, again, to fund educational opportunities for students across the states in Chicago and Rockford, Peoria, elsewhere. And Milton Friedman, who said there's nothing so permanent as a temporary government program. Well, in order to get Invest in Kids through the legislature, Republicans did agree to a sunset provision. I think it was 5 or 6 years after the program started, with the thought that certainly Democrats wouldn't take money from the hands of parents trying to provide an education to their children. They underestimated the cravenness of Democrats who actually did eventually take money out of the hands of parents trying to pay for schools for their children, because they are, of course, in hock to the unions across the state of Illinois, and especially the Chicago Teachers Union in Chicago. So that program's dead. That program ended. And now J.B. Pritzker in Illinois has the opportunity to opt his state into this national program. I wouldn't hold my breath if I were an Illinois parent about that, because J.B. Pritzker wants to be president, and you're not going to get the robust support of the teachers' unions if you opt into this program, I do not think. Very quickly here, the Melania documentary doing very well for Amazon, pulling in, $8-9 million in the first week of release. One Portland theater had the movie pulled. Comes after the Lake Theater and Cafe displayed messages to promote the film, jokes, like, does Melania wear Prada? Find out Friday. And this one, you'll love this one. It said, to defeat your enemy, you must know them. Melania. That's how they were promoting the film. Amazon called them, said, yeah, you don't get to show that film anymore. The studio did not appreciate how they were marketing the film to the public. It was in enough locations that it did well without the Portland help, all right? Scott Bertram sitting in for Steve. Have a great Thursday. Steve Gruber Show rolls on next.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring